What's the most "I'm turning into my parents" moment for you? My dad will fall asleep just about anywhere. Especially if he sits in recliner. So after I got my first full-time job out of college, I got home and me and my roommate were gonna watch a new episode of some show. I fell asleep in our recliner in less than 10 minutes. I woke up after the show ended and my roommate was like, "Yeah, you were out," and snored a little. Ah, that's sweet. When are you and your roommate getting married? When I went from, "Oh hey, this restaurant has live music. Cool," to, "Damn it, look at them setting up a drum kit. It's going to be too loud. I can't hear." Single quote. Why do they do this? Even when I was younger I couldn't stand this. Hey guys, know what's a great time? All of us going deaf, feedback squeal. Sometimes I will say certain words and I'll turn around because I thought my mom said something. It's really scary how me and her share 98% of seemingly random idiosyncrasies. We both talk to ourselves. Full on 45 conversations with ourselves. We both do this, counting this when some of the numbers turn breathy as we count. We both shake our heads and point our fingers the exact same way when we're yelling. Sometimes I'll stop mid-fight because I can see my mom making the exact same motions and it freaks me out. My so and I were packing and getting ready to road trip to some family's house for Thanksgiving. As I was cleaning up the house, my so said something along the lines of, "Don't worry about it. You can clean when we get home." I replied with, "I do not want to come home to a dirty house." At that point I realized I'm turning into my mother. This one. Gotta clean before a trip. My mom used to find things for us in a minute after we had been looking for hours. My siblings and dad sometimes lose things and ask me to help because I always find it magically. I'm actually very excited about the mom touch to finding things. My dad has a way worked himself to death. Now he's retired. When he comes over now, as soon as he sits down on a couch he falls asleep within minutes. I'm noticing couches are starting to have the same affect on me. Same for my dad. He says it's from his military days when he had to sleep when he could get it. He will go days without sleep sometimes since he also worked night shifts. So he gets home at like 6 a.m. Messes with the boat, then heads out fishing until he has to go back to work. When he comes to my house, hell, hit the couch and get 5 minutes into a movie before he's out. Sometimes he'll call me and be like, "I'm really liking this John Wick movie. I started it last week, I'm about halfway through." I don't think he's sat fully through a movie in my life. Greater than, I started it last week, I'm about halfway through. Same. Except I just have a short attention span. As I stared into the mass of various saved rubber bands and twist ties. When I sit down and make a dad noise, AAAHHHHRGGGAAA. Don't forget the corresponding noise to get up, HMMPH, or HUP. When I would get irrationally pissed off when I would come home at night and see my roommate left a spoon in the sink instead of just washing it real quick. Had a roommate who would always open cabinets and just leave them open. We all despised each other at the end of our lease. I started enjoying looking at grocery ads for discounts and have 3 discount cards. Grocery shopping is like a hobby for me now. I'm still in my 20s. Is there hope for me, Doc? Finding myself excited to go to Lowe's. As a child I hated being dragged to that store. As an adult and new homeowner I totally get the appeal of buying power tools and gardening supplies to work on various home improvement projects. I repeat stories. Every time I go home to visit, I'll hear things from my dad that he's either told me by phone already or stories I've heard 100 times. I found that I have also started telling people about stories from my past that I've already told them. Convenient that I don't make up BS. Or I'd have to remember all my BS. I remember you telling us about this. Proceeds to tell the story again anyway. My dad was a fairly tall guy. I used to hate walking with him when I was about 4/5 because he'd take giant steps and I had to basically jog everywhere while he dragged my hand. My son is now 4 and I caught myself doing that exact thing about 2 months ago. Now I walk slower. Easy. Walking around turning off light switches, complaining about waste of electricity. The moment I saw a high school picture of me. Turns out it was my dad's high school picture. I'm identical to my father and it's annoying as can be. So I'm at IHOP one day. Already finished with breakfast. On my second cup of coffee. and the waiter comes with the bill. As I pull out my debit card to pay it, I put my wallet away and think to myself, just let me sit here and enjoy my coffee. Which is a phrase that my mother has used so many times at breakfast that she could patent it. I'll admit it does feel nice to just relax and enjoy it instead of rushing out the door as soon as you're done. Now it's something I do routinely. Let me finish my coffee. Mom proceeds to take the smallest sip of coffee ever to prove that she's still drinking it. Over the course of college, I went from milk and sugar in my coffee to straight black with an espresso shot. I went from ketchup on a lot of things to simply salt and pepper. The sweet tooth turned into a salty, savory tooth. When me and my first girlfriend broke up, after telling myself I wasn't going to turn into my parents, we broke up because I did all the wrong things my parents do. Ate at an expensive restaurant and for a sec considered how much better and cheaper it would have been if I made the meal at home. Now I generally try to only order something that I can't make at home, so I can look it up later and find out how much work it would take to learn. Answering stupid questions with stupid answers. I.e., family member, what should I do with this dirty nappy you just changed? The nappy bin is next to her, me, put it in the fridge, we will eat it later. Edit, a nappy is a diaper. I washed out the hummus container to save in case I needed it someday. My 3-year-old told me as I turned on the TV, don't turn on the news, Dad. I 100% remember saying that to my parents. I realized I talk exactly like my father. I use the same speech patterns and I don't get to the point, which annoys me as well as anybody listening. Sometimes listening to myself talk is like hearing a sampling of my father's dad-isms played back in my mother's voice. I'm basically just a walking character mashup. Mom and Dad remix. Mom and Dad Part 2 Childhood Boogaloo. The first time I told my kids to shut the door. We aren't heating the outside. I finally get why they said it too. It costs money to cool the house. I wake up, no alarm, every day at 4 a.m. to get ready for work. Just sit up like clockwork at 4. Never thought I would get to this point. Is it possible to learn this power? I say the names of things I see while in the car. Like, oh, a Burger King, and a new Wawa. Interesting. My mom does this and it used to drive me nuts when I was younger. My husband actually types Google.com into the search bar, even though our default search engine is Google. It's a classic dad move. The moment I realized that I started to have a bag full of bags. When we're together, we answer people with the exact same answers. While driving in my car, I will put my arm out to protect the passenger if I suddenly stop, even though they are wearing a seat belt. Just like my mom, as the passenger in the front seat, I will step on the brake, even though there is no pedal. The old fake brake, just like my mom does. You used the stop short? That's my move. Having children. The S that I've said has totally been S my mom used to say. As a middle-aged male, I am turning into my mother and it terrifies me. Example, I swear to God if I have to go in your room to clean it, it's all going into a garbage bag and being donated to kids that will appreciate it. I heard a loud noise and instantly got pissed off. My girlfriend told me she was cold when we were at home. She was wearing shorts and a tank top. I said, well, put some clothes on. My parents used to say the same thing to me and my sister when we were kids so they wouldn't have to turn the heat up. Lol. My wife got a picture of me in shorts that didn't come to my knees. A white tee that I wore under my work shirt. Doing dishes, with my headphones in, listening to a podcast. It was a wake-up call I needed. My boyfriend yelled, everyone in the car shut your mouth, when he got frustrated in a busy parking lot. It was just the two of us in the car and I wasn't talking. The mental image of this is hysterically funny to me. I fell asleep at the movie theater. I was always annoyed my parents could never remember the names of the toys and other things I wanted. My mom especially would butcher the names. Once calling G.I. Joe, Joe dolls. I now realize it's f***ing hard to remember the names of all the S my kids want. Called an lol doll, collectible AF King loli doll at the checkout line. Cringed so hard.